Hello guys, what's up and welcome to this video. So today we're going to be talking about the greatest game mode of all time in any Call of Duty, at least in my opinion, which is Gun Game. Now, those of you who are familiar with my channel, you may or may not know that Gun Game is my favorite game mode in any Call of Duty. It's the game mode that I play the most, at least if I'm by myself and none of my friends are online. Gun Game is typically my go-to game mode. So when I saw that they added it into Black Ops 4, I was really excited and honestly a little bit surprised. I was expecting them to take a lot longer to add it into the game, but they did it relatively quickly, so I was pretty happy about that. And ever since then, I've been playing it non-stop. I've probably put in like 10 plus hours into the game mode alone, which is pretty significant, at least for me, because I don't really play the game that often or that much. I don't grind it out 24/7 by any means. So me playing 10 plus hours on just a single game mode is a lot. And it's basically all I've been playing. I haven't really touched TDM or any of the other objective game modes ever since they put in Gun Game. So I've been having a lot of fun playing the game mode. I've been enjoying it a lot, but with that being said, there are definitely some issues in Gun Game as of right now that are preventing this Gun Game from being a really good rendition of the game mode. It could be 10 times better if they just fix some of these issues or at least tweak them a little, because as of right now, this Gun Game isn't the best. It's definitely not the worst either. It's just an average version of Gun Game. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible or anything like that. But it could be amazing if they just fixed some of these issues. Now, the first issue with Gun Game is the weapon balancing. More specifically, the first 3 weapons that you get are way too weak in comparison to the other weapons. You first start off with a Mozu, which I don't ever use it in normal multiplayer like any game mode, so I don't know how it performs in those. But in Gun Game, it is utter trash. Whatever attachment that is on it definitely does not help it. It is just a horrible gun in my opinion. And then you get some pistol that's kind of an average pistol. That one I think is balanced enough. It's okay. It could be a bit better, but it's whatever. And then you get the Mod 12 shotgun, which is kind of trash in this game mode. At least when everyone else has their automatic weapons, using these 3 starting weapons is definitely really difficult, and it's hard to get a kill. I mean, if everyone in the lobby is on automatic weapons and you're stuck on these 3 guns, I mean, just give up. Like, there's no way that you're gonna be able to at least win that game, let alone, like, move past these weapons, because going against automatic weapons with these shitty weapons is nearly impossible. I mean, you're basically signing a death warrant. At least if the person is decent at the game and they can aim their gun properly, you probably are not going to win against them when you just have a Mozu or a Mod 12 shotgun, just because of the way the time to kill is in this game mode. So it's pretty difficult, and I say this as someone who typically benefits from this imbalance in the game. I usually am able to get off of these weapons relatively quickly, and once I do and I get onto the 4th weapon, which is some SMG, I'm almost guaranteed to win that game because it's so easy to basically massacre all these poor souls that are still stuck on these shitty weapons. And I almost feel bad when I'm doing that. Like, I'll see someone roll up with a Mozu and they're shooting at me. And for a split second, I almost think like, man, maybe I should just give them a pity kill. Like, I've been there, I feel bad. But ultimately, I always end up killing them. And it's just kind of rough. But yeah, it's just a bit unbalanced. Like, any game that I am not going to get first place in, it's almost always just because I took too long getting off the Mozu and everyone else was able to, like, move past and get the automatic weapons. And at that point, it's just like, whatever, you fall behind relatively quickly, and it just sucks. I think they could have chose a lot better starting weapon. I mean, the Mozu is literally trash, and it's probably the worst, starting weapon or starting pistol that we've ever had for gun game. So I really wish that they would choose a different gun. Like the 3-round burst pistol would be a lot better than the Mozu, I feel. And it would make the game a lot more balanced, but it's whatever. I mean, it's not the worst thing about this gun game, but it definitely is pretty bad. At least I'm sure it would be horrible from a casual player's perspective. I would say I'm slightly above average. I'm not the best by any means, but I do win most gun games. At least I place in the top 3 almost every single gun game. If not, I win every gun game, just first place. So yeah, it's pretty rough, I would say, for other people. I benefit from this, but I don't even want to benefit from it because it just feels like an unbalanced game, and I don't even feel that accomplished because I feel like I'm just getting these easy kills without any skill. It's not really because of me, it's just because these people are suffering and they have these shitty little crappy pistols and crappy shotguns. So yeah, I wish that they would change these weapons. I think at least add better attachments to them because as of right now they're just really shitty and just not balanced whatsoever. The second issue with gun game in Black Ops 4 is a lack of weapon variation. In previous Call of Duties, the weapon wheel was a lot more expansive and they had it so that it would change every single time in gun game. So they had it so that every 5th weapon, for example, would be an AR, but it wouldn't be the same AR every single time, and it wouldn't even be the same attachments every single time. It was a lot more random back then, but now it's the same exact weapons, the same exact attachments, in the same exact order. And as you can guess, it gets boring relatively quickly because at this point I have it memorized, I know which weapon is gonna come next, and it makes it so that it's kind of boring and I can just easily plan ahead. But in previous Call of Duties, it was much more spontaneous. You just got the weapon and had to run with it, and you wouldn't know what weapon you're gonna get next, which made it a lot more fun and a lot more rewarding when you did well, because it was like, wow, I can do well with any weapon. This is great. I'm really good at the game. But now it's kind of just like, oh, I know which weapon's gonna come next. I just have it memorized. That's really it. It's not like I'm really good with all of these weapons. It's just I've played the game mode enough to know which weapons come next. So I'm obviously gonna be decent at least with those weapons. So it's pretty disappointing. And it makes it so that the game mode gets dull really quickly, and I wish that they would add more variation, but I guess the reason why there isn't variation is because there aren't a lot of weapons in Black Ops 4 in general, so I guess that's kind of why. But I don't know, maybe in the future when they add more weapons to multiplayer, they'll maybe add them into gun game and at least maybe make it longer or make it more randomized, and so that it's not guaranteed to be the same every single time. That would be pretty amazing, and I hope they do that in the future because it would add a lot more depth to the game mode and a lot more replayability as a whole, and it would just be a lot better if there was just at least a little weapon variation. Even if they just change the attachments every single time and they're randomized, even that would make it a little bit more dynamic and just a little bit more fun. But overall, I hope in the future that they add more weapons into the pool and make it so that it's randomized a bit more and it changes from game to game. So the third and final issue with gun game is the spawns. Now there are 2 issues because of the spawns being kind of shitty in this game. Now the first issue is that oftentimes you will spawn right by a gunfight, way too close to a gunfight, where you're basically spawning into the gunfight, and it's inevitable that you will have to take on that fight, especially considering that radar is always on in gun game. So a lot of times what will happen is I will kill someone and then that person will spawn literally 10 feet away from where they died, and I'll end up killing them again. And it makes it so that it's kind of just unfair, and I almost feel like a bully. Like, I feel like I'm, bullying this person. Like, I just killed them and now I'm killing them again, like 10 seconds later, and it's just kind of lame. And I'd imagine that it's really frustrating from that person's perspective to basically spawn into a death again. Like, that's really shitty and unfair, and it just kind of ruins the balance of the game because it makes it so that I go on kill streaks so easily in an almost unfair way, and I don't know, it's just not the best, and I'm sure it's very frustrating for those who get unlucky and spawn right by where they just died, which is really stupid because if you just died, you probably are going to die again to that same person, which is just dumb, and it just makes it so that it's not balanced as a whole. So the second problem with these spawns is relating to my first issue and the starting weapons, and that is that the initial spawns impact how you're going to do in that game way too much. Now, what I mean by this is that if you're lucky and you spawn right by people, you are probably going to do better in that game because you are able to get into a gunfight a lot quicker and move off of those shitty weapons a lot quicker. But on the other hand, if you spawn away from people where you have to run a good distance in order to get into a gunfight, you are probably not going to do that well in this game mode, or you're at least going to fall behind for a good while. Because by the time you interact with someone and you get into a fight with them, they are probably already on to the next weapon or a better weapon, and they're most likely able to kill you if they're not too shitty at the game. And this makes it so that you fall behind even more because of how bad these weapons are, and it just makes it so that the initial spawn plays way too much into how well you're going to do in that game. I mean, there's been countless times where I'm getting off the third weapon, and it's not even like I died that much or I'm doing shitty. It's just because I had a bad spawn. And I'm getting off this third weapon while the person in first place is on their 10th or 11th weapon. And once again, this isn't because that person is really good or anything like that, or I'm really shitty. It's just because they probably got lucky and they got a better initial spawn, which is not at all how a game should be. Now, usually I'm able to bridge the gap between me and this person who's in first place, but there have been times where I've simply gotten second or third just because of the fact that I had a bad initial spawn, which is really stupid. It shouldn't be like that. It should be more about, oh, I was just not that good in that game, not because, oh, I spawned in the wrong spot, something that I can't even control. But yeah, as of right now, the spawns are definitely shitty and they impact how well you do in the game way too much. So yeah, that about does it. Those are the 3 issues that are preventing Gun Game from being a really good rendition of Gun Game. As of right now, it's really just an average version, and it's starting to get boring after a while, which is kind of sad because, I mean, I love Gun Game, but even I'm getting a little tired of it because of the fact that there's these issues still in the game. But yeah, hopefully they fix these issues and make Gun Game a lot better, but regardless, it's still fun, and I would recommend you guys play it even though these issues are still prevalent in the game, but regardless, it's fun, and yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and also comment down below what you think about Gun Game, and if you enjoy it, and all that jazz, and yeah, I'll see you all next time.